is the Purl Up Dye Podcast. This is episode 6. Thank you so much for joining me today. Welcome to any of my returning viewers, and welcome to any new viewers. That's really exciting if you're here for the very first time. My name is Jaden. I'm coming to you from Saskatchewan, Canada. You can find me on Instagram as Little Prairie Purl, on Ravelry as Creations on a Whim, or as Little Prairie Purl for my design account. And you can find my Etsy store as littleprairiepearl.etsy.com. So in my shop, I sell some of my patterns, not all. I mostly stick to that with Ravelry and Knit Picks. But you can find some sassy knitting tags and some knitting bags or project bags. So that's what you can find in my shop. So yeah, so it's been about 3 or 4 weeks since my last podcast, so I do apologize in advance that it's a little bit disjointed and a little bit awkward. It feels very much like I'm doing this for the very first time again, which is really weird because on my my 5th episode, I was like, oh, I got this. Not, I was kind of like smooth and it wasn't really very awkward anymore, and now it's just like right back to how it was the very first time I did it. This is actually my second take. My first one was so bad, I just trashed it. It was 45 minutes. I'm like, I am not even going to try to save a segment. I think I watched the first 5 minutes. I'm like, I can't even handle it. That's pretty bad. When I can't even handle it. So, and the phone rang right in the middle. So it scared me, and well, whatever. So I just like, you know what? It was just bad. We're going to call it a practice. So, yeah. So anyways, welcome. Apologize already. I think this one's going to be just as bad. So this episode, I'm going to talk about some FOs that I've finished since my last podcasting, some whips that I've got on my needles right now, a treasure that I found, and what else? Oh, I'm going to do a segment on Wish I Knew. Last episode I had mentioned that I was going to talk about picking like appropriate yarn for your project, but it actually got bumped. I'm going to do that another time. Somebody asked on my last podcast, left in the comments asked me if acrylic could be blocked, and if so, how to do it. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit today. So jump right in. I think I will show you I guess I'll show you my whips first. I've only got 2. They're not very big, but the first one I've been going on and on that I was going to start myself a selfish sweater. And so I have gauge swatched because after my last podcast or whatever, which one it was, that I went on about how important it is to do a gauge swatch, I thought, well, I can't really not do one now, can I? How hypocritical would that be? So, gauge swatch. This is it here. I think I've got it upside down again. This is it here. Oh, man, I need to get something that has more of a, I don't know. Sorry. Hopefully you can see it. It is the Hitofude. That will be what it is, the cardigan. So this is the lace panel that will be throughout the entire thing. Look at that yarn too. Isn't that just gorgeous? This yarn, I've got it all caked up and ready to go. This is the La Bien Amie, her Merino Signals, and her Romance colorway. So this was, I've got four skeins of it. It should be enough. Yeah, so I'm going to be doing the extra large size. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about the Hitofude cardigan. Obviously, I've never knit it before, so I like to do my research almost to a point where it's ridiculous. But it pays off a lot of times because I learn all kinds of things that are good to know. With the Hitofude cardigan, the designer has said to pick your measurement based on your bust size. So I picked the large size. And then when I was reading, I mean, this pattern has been made almost 6,000 times. So there are tons of project pages. Lots of them are full of helpful information. And one of them, there's even actually a group, if you look on Ravelry, it's the Hitofude knit along group. And it's just an entire group dedicated to just this sweater. So it's in a wealth of information. And somebody had said, to follow somebody's guidelines about how to actually pick your sweater size. So I went through that, and I am so glad I did. So with this sweater, like I said, she has you pick based on your bust size. So according to mine, I figured I needed to knit myself the large. But the problem is basically the sweater starts out as a bolero. So you knit a rectangle and then you seam it up right here. And then the part you don't seam becomes your back and kind of around your shoulders. And then you pick it up and you knit around that hole, you knit a 1x1 rib. So the important thing is not how it fits for your bust, since the sweater itself is an open cardigan. It's the important part is how that 1x1 ribbing is going to fit, because it's going to go around your shoulder, like across your upper back, come up around your other shoulder, and then around the back of your neck. So if that measurement is too small, you're going to be like squished, right? You won't be able to like move your arms. You'll be like, T-Rex can't wear sweaters. So, yeah, that was awkward. Sorry about that. But anyway, so you're going to be all squished into this sweater. So, somebody has suggested, holding your tape measure and how to measure that whole area. So I found out, don't do large. I'm going to have to cast on the extra large just to give it that extra room. So I'm very, very glad that I took the time to research and find that out. So if any of you are thinking about doing that sweater, be sure to check out some of the project pages, read some of the helpful notes that are listed on there. Yeah, just because, I'm so glad that I did, because if I would have knit myself a large and it didn't fit, I would have been extremely disappointed. And honestly, I don't know if I would have had the heart to start again. I know if it didn't fit, I would have pulled it all out, because I love the yarn and I'd want to make something for myself that fit. But I mean, how heartbreaking would that have been if you ended up knitting for 100 hours and you couldn't wear the finished object? So yeah. And for that same reason is why I particularly like to make a project page. Not because I always have extremely good project notes, but you never know. I tweak a lot of patterns, modify them for my needs. And so I like to have those tweaks written in my notes in case they help other knitters. So, plus for my own, like, a lot of times I want to knit the same, like the hat that I knit. If I want to do it again and I know I made a modification to it, I like to go back and see what I did, whether it's I changed the needle size or, changed the yarn weight. Like right now, I'll show you the hat that I'm knitting for my daughter. The pattern itself calls for DK, and I switched to sport. So I'm going to have some notes so that if I want to make another one, or if, somebody else is wanting to knit that pattern and they just happen to have sport weight, then maybe my mods will help them. So speaking of the hat that I'm knitting for my daughter, I've already knit her one this year, but it ended up being a little bit snug. It's not snug this way, but I don't think I did it deep enough because it keeps popping off her head. So that's kind of annoying when you're running around outside and your hat pops off, or it rides up so that her ears are exposed, because Canadian winters, you don't want exposed ears. So I am starting a new one, and this is the Grow With Me Beanie by Elena Nodel. I'll put all the information down. I'm not going to try to say her Ravelry name, because I did on my last one and my last podcast that I deleted because I did so bad with that name. It doesn't seem like it should be a hard thing to say, but I can't say it. It's like a tongue twister for me. So Elena Nodel, the Grow With Me Beanie. It starts with a 1x1 rib. I changed it. Like I said, I've modified almost everything. I did a 1x1 twisted rib. So if you're not familiar with what a twisted rib is, you basically just knit your knits through the back loop, so it gives them a quick half twist. And I find it looks better because if you notice when you stretch it, those knit stitches, they don't distort. I don't know if I have anything with 1x1 rib with me, but I find a lot of times with a 1x1 rib, when you stretch it, the knit stitches, they kind of pull apart on themselves and it just looks sloppy. So I've been seeing quite a few other people using the one twisted rib, and it is kind of a pain in the butt to go through the back loop. It's not your natural inclination all the time, and you can accidentally mess it up. But I find the extra time that it takes you to do it is worth it because it looks, for me anyways, I prefer the look of it. But anyways, the pattern itself is very easy. It's a 4-stitch I always say it wrong. It's a 4-row pattern repeat. And it's got this gorgeous, this is called a gull stitch, right there. Oh man, can't really see. But anyways, I'll link to the pattern. You can have a better look at it. But it kind of forms little peaks. I really, really, really like it. And I've got to have this done in 2 days from now. My girls start school again on Wednesday, and it is now Monday. So I gotta get knitting. So this is what I'm focusing on. So I've done my gauge swatch for my sweater, but this is taking priority this week. At least until I can get the hat done. And then after that, I'm going to start my sweater in earnest. I'm really excited. So I know there's a couple of you that have been mentioning in the comments that you were thinking of doing one too. So if you want to, I would love for you to join me on my sweater adventure. If you're wanting to try, that would be fun to have somebody to knit one with. I don't have a Ravelry group or anything. I've kind of thought about starting one, but I'm like, I don't know. I don't have very many subscribers, so I think it would just be me by myself in the room, in the group. So I'll be like, hello everyone, talking to myself. So maybe in a bit when I have a few more followers or something like that, maybe I'll start a group and then we can do some knit alongs and whatnot. But for now, it's just me by myself. And so if any of you want to, go ahead, comment below. You can add me as a friend on Ravelry or whatever, and I'll add you back and we can do it together. That would be fun. So those are my whips. So like I said, I don't have a whole heck of a lot, but I had almost 4 weeks where I wasn't podcasting. So I knit like crazy. And we've had a pretty quiet break from school. The girls didn't really go away anywhere. We've all had colds. My husband ended up with the sinus infection twice. Yeah, it's just been a long winter already, and it's only December. No, it's January now. Hey, we're on the flip side now. So I just knit a lot, and I finished a bunch of things, and I'm very excited. So my first number one thing, I was so excited. I've posted so many. I'm sure people are sick of this, so this will be the last time you see it on the podcast, unless something drastic happens, like it burns or, I get a hole in it or something. I don't know. But my husband's sweater that I've been working on for months and months is done. Look at it. It's beautiful. I can say that. I knit it, and he loves it so much, and it's so warm. Oh my goodness. The wool that I used is Knit Picks City Tweed DK Jacquard Kitten. It's merino and alpaca. No nylon, I don't think. I always forget, but I know it has some alpaca and it's got merino, and it's incredibly soft. The only problem is with this sweater is that he's wore it a ton already, which I'm so grateful for, but it pills like you would not believe. Like really, it's crazy. But I depilled it today with like one of those little lint shavers that I got from Knit Picks. It's like $3. I don't know. It works okay, but not for the big pills. I think I'm going to invest in one of the gleaners. I keep hearing about how great they are, and I would love to try one. So I'm going to probably go and order one at some point, because this sweater is going to need much help as it goes. But that's what happens with soft yarn, right? You can't really get a soft yarn that doesn't pill, because that's just the property. And it's got a halo because of the alpaca. So yeah, I'll live. I'll just have to do some maintenance on it once in a while. But it fits my husband so well. Oh my goodness, I couldn't even be happier with it. And then I threw it on just to see. And it fits me too, and it's really exciting. So if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see a picture of the finished object on my husband and on me as well. I kind of did a split screen, and did like a who wore it best kind of thing. And it was really exciting because Knit Picks themselves picked up the picture and sent me a message and said, can we feature it? And I'm like, yeah, I think so. So they posted it up on their Facebook page, and so I got quite a bit of feedback from other knitters and other people out there. So that was pretty fun. I thought that was pretty exciting. I've never had one of my patterns featured before. not my patterns, my projects. So that's that. I'm so glad that this is done. I did enjoy it very, very much to knit it, but I mean, by the time you kind of get to the end of a sweater, you're kind of ready to move on to the next thing. So I was done with this. And then I ended up with so much extra of this wool. Like, when I generated the pattern, like I said, I went through Amy Herzog. I went off the base measure, or I don't even know what you call it. Brain fart all of a sudden. When designers say how much yardage you need, they're usually very generous with the sizing. And so I picked the size for my husband and I ordered how much yarn it called for. But it ended up, I had like 4 extra balls of the kitten colorway. The jacquard, I was really close. But this like light brown, I had so much extra of it that it was, yeah, I didn't know what to do with it. So I cast on something for myself. Not a sweater, because I already have the Hitofude in my queue. I think somebody's upstairs. My kids are gone and my husband's supposed to be at work, so maybe he came home. I don't know. I hope it's him. How awkward is that? Anyways, so what I made for myself, I had mentioned this one on my last podcast too, but it was like this big. But for Amanda and Christina, they were hosting a like a shawl along, and you had to knit 75 grams worth of yarn to qualify for their knit along, and so I did. And yeah, I love my thing. This is the burlesque shawl. It's just this, it's not an overly large. Oh, you see the lace there? And I didn't block it yet, so it hasn't opened up. It's not as big as it will be. And then it's got like a little picot edge. Nothing too major. I really like it though. It's squishy and it's warm. I like it. Yeah, it's just, oh my goodness, my hair today. Whew. Yeah, so that's that. Sorry, this was the City Tweed DK. This is the leftovers of the kitten. And then this was stuff that I already had in my stash, and it is plum wine. So it's just like this gorgeous red purple, and I just, oh, so, so pretty. But yeah, it really works really well with my brown jacket. I've got a big brown down jacket, kind of like mid-thigh, and keep me warm. So this works really well with it. I've tucked it in a few times. When I have to brave the cold, it's nice to have a really warm shawl thing. So yes, that's an FO. I didn't think I was going to be finished in time for the shawl along, but I did get my 75 grams done in time for their deadline. So yeah, I don't know if they've closed the thread though. They haven't had a podcast up for all of December either. So most of my favorite podcasts that I watch, December was just kind of like gone, which I figure is pretty much normal because who has time? Busy, everybody, all the time. So anyway, so that was that. That was number 2. And then this wasn't even a blip on my radar last time I podcasted, and I don't know, something just overcame me, and I thought I needed to knit my daughter a sweater. Because who doesn't need to knit their daughter a sweater with, when they have 14,000 other things that they were planning on doing? Let's just throw a sweater in there. So I picked a pattern. Oh, sorry, and my husband's sweater, in case anybody is new, it's Amy Herzog custom fit sweater. It's her Tramotane sweater based on a sweater that I saw by Kevin Castel called Malo. So I'll put the links below for anybody who wants to know. But the sweater for my daughter is another pattern by Elena Nodel. This is the 3rd pattern of hers that I've knit. Doing the hat for my other daughter, my oldest, is getting a the Grow With Me beanie. And she had also gotten a sweater for back to school I'd knit, and it was a Elena Nodel sweater as well, called Sunspots. I'll show that on maybe on the next podcast. I love it so much. But this is for my littlest daughter. Her favorite color is blue. So there it is. Nope, going the wrong way. Sorry. Yeah, so that's it there. So it's just tiny. I did the size 4, And the sizing, it's meant to have some positive ease and be a little bit bigger. So this is the size 4. My daughter usually wears a size 6 and it fits her perfectly. I did 1 or 2 extra repeats in the lace in the body and did a little bit longer ribbing so that it'll fit her longer. But the nice thing is that it's completely done in the round from the top down. So if my daughter goes through another growth spurt, I could pick out the bind off and just throw some more ribbing in, or even pull the ribbing back until the lace and do another lace repeat and then do the ribbing again. So totally love that. It's got lots of room. There's a picture of it on my Instagram again, so feel free to pop over there and have a look, see how it fits on my little girl. But yeah, I love it. You start with it's like I said, top down raglan style. So now I believe, okay, the front of the collar comes down, or the front of the neck comes down just a little bit more from the back. So you do knit it flat for the first like 10 rows or something, and then you attach it in the round, and then you knit it cuff down. But it's all completely seamless. You put your sleeve stitches on hold, and then you knit the body. There's no shaping because it's for a little girl. I did put in some, you can see here on the back, like here and here. If you look, you can see that there's a little bit of variance, and that's a little bit of waist shaping. I put in 4 extra stitches on both of those rows, so there's 8 extra stitches just so it can, you know, curve around her little bum or her hips. And yeah, really, really happy with this pattern. It comes from toddler size all the way up to like adult women, like extra large or more. I have to check the pattern, but it's called, oh sorry, I didn't even say, it's called Cozy Saturday. So I got the pattern for me, but it was so adorable. I made it for my daughter, and I'm going to make one for myself too. It knit up incredibly fast because because it was the smallest. Oh, so maybe that was the smallest size. So it's like size 4. Yes, I made the smallest size 4. But it goes up to women's XL at least. So, but yeah, worsted weight and the smallest size. So I mean, it knit up in no time. I think I completed it in a week, but it was pretty much the only thing I worked on because it was kind of addicting. But yeah, she's really, really, really happy with it, and I mean, it's so cute on her. So there was that. So that's 3 FOs. Can you believe that? That's crazy. And actually, I think I knit 2 hats in that time too, but they've been given away. So yeah, it's just kind of like I went on a binge and I just knit and knit and knit and knit and knit because we weren't going anywhere, so nothing else to do. We just did that. And then my last thing that I have, it's an FO, but it wasn't mine, and it wasn't a gift either. It was a treasure, like I mentioned at the beginning. So when my husband and I went into the city one day, and we went into the thrift store, and he was looking for like a winter jacket for himself, one that he could he's a drywaller and a painter, so he kind of just comes home with like drywall dust, and he doesn't wear good clothes to work ever. So he needed something that he could just throw on and get dirty. And so I went to a different part of the store, and as I was passing all the end caps of the aisles, do you know those ruffle scarves that made with that fancy, that mesh yarn? They were so huge for a couple years, and now it's like you go to a thrift store and that's all you see. Scarves, just hundreds of scarves hanging there. So I was walking past all of them, and out of the very corner of one of those racks, out of the corner of my eye, I spied a flash of color, and I thought, I'm like, I wonder what that is. And I could tell that it was lace, and I thought, oh, it just intrigued me because it was like all like these dark navy and gray and black and blah blah blah, and then this bright color. So I peeked at it, I pulled it back, all the scarves, and I found, you're not even gonna believe this. Look at this. Look at that. I found this gorgeous, gorgeous shawl. Over here. Oh, it's so pretty. Look at the lace. So this is hand knit, obviously. It is definitely made from wool because it's got that really cozy, woolly feel. And I don't think it's superwash because it feels woolier than that. Amanda mentioned on my Instagram, Amanda, Yarn Enabler. She's like, I think that's hand dyed, and I think she's right. Maybe not by the maker, but maybe like by someone. It's a hand dyed skein that doesn't look like a commercially dyed yarn. It's got all these bright colors of red and pink and orange and coral and yellow and fuchsia. Oh my goodness, it's so pretty. But I found it and I had to rescue it. You know, like it just broke my heart to see it just sitting there. I thought somebody has spent countless hours knitting this for someone, thinking of someone, knitting it for them, and it just ended up in the thrift store. And the saddest thing is there was no price tag attached to it. So I took it up to the till, and you know, like I had no idea how much they were going to charge. And she's like, "Oh, it's pretty small." She sold it to me for $2.99, and I had a 30% off coupon. So I got for $2. Like, really? So it was unappreciated by whoever it was given to, but it is well appreciated by me. So I don't know who knit it. I don't know what pattern either. I haven't really looked, but if anybody recognizes the pattern, I would love to hear what you think it might be, because it's so pretty. I would knit this if I knew what it was. It's kind of almost got like a leaf motif, but not quite. I don't know. Maybe I should put some pictures up on Ravelry and see if anybody can identify what pattern it is, but I love it so much. I don't know. I don't think I'm wearing it very well. It's one of those things. With shawls, I always feel like I need to spend about 20 minutes in front of the mirror just adjusting it, just so. But and I just throw it on. Who knows what it's going to look like, so. But yeah, so that was my treasure. I was really excited. I've never found anything good like that at this thrift store before. I've seen Afghans and stuff hanging there, but I don't have a lot of those in my house. And I don't know, we're just not big Afghan users, so I usually just leave those behind, but this one I just couldn't. I thought, you know what, if I don't wear it, I'll give it to somebody who can, because it needs to be loved by someone. But I'll just put that on my lap because it's cold. So that's it for FOs, and that's it for my things, my whips and stuff like that. So I think I'm going to talk about that segment that I was talking about blocking your acrylic yarn, whether it can or can't be done. So yes, somebody had asked, I should have wrote her name down, I apologize, I didn't, but you know who you are, had mentioned about that you used a lot of acrylics, and whether or not that was possible to block it. And the answer is yes. But now I hear a lot that people say you can't block acrylic. And now that's not really true. So I'm going to get kind of sort of into it here. Okay, so when most knitters think about blocking, they're thinking about something that's called wet blocking. So with your wool, okay, for example, with your wool, when you knit lace, okay, so for this one, I've knit some lace, and you can see it's unblocked. When it comes off the needles, stitches aren't really defined, the lace isn't very defined, you know, like each of these little picots could be pinned out. This will have a lot more detail once it's been blocked. So this is unblocked. This one has been blocked. And now you can see, like, this would have come off the needles all crumped up where the stitches are. It would have been wrinkled and the stitch definition wouldn't have been really there. But now you can see, like, all these eyelets lay perfectly. They're all the same size. So this had been blocked in the past. So when wool gets blocked, it's, like I said, it's called wet blocking. You soak your yarn in a little bit of wool wash, or, you know, you don't even have to, but if you do, you usually use some wool wash. When it soaks for a while, like an hour or so, you take it out, you gently squeeze it. You never wring your knitting. Never, never wring out your knitting. You're going to stretch and distort it. So you just gently squeeze it, get as much water out as possible, and then you lay it on a towel. I like to lay it on an old towel, roll it up, and then step on it and force as much water as you can out of the wool. And then you just pin it out into its desired shape and let it dry. And then each time you wash it, you have to pin it out with that, because it goes back to kind of its natural relaxed state. So yes, That's what wet blocking is. Now, you can't wet block acrylic because acrylic is not a natural fiber, it's synthetic. Essentially, it's plastic. So it doesn't absorb water. It has no memory. It's like wool has like a memory, right? Like it's springy, but it will go back to its shape. Acrylic doesn't, because it doesn't have that natural, it's not a natural product, not a natural fiber. So you have to treat it differently. So when you want to block your acrylic, okay, so this, I didn't even say what it's made out of. This is made out of Caron Simply Soft. Normally I don't knit with acrylics, not because I don't appreciate them or anything. I'm not a complete fiber snob. I'm a little bit, but not completely. But for my daughter, she's dirty. She's dirty. That sounds bad. Like she makes a lot of a mess. She does a lot of like the wiping of the nose and the face. She's got chocolate on it, and just sweater sleeves are just disgusting all the time. And I needed something that I could just throw in the wash and wash it and not have to worry about it. So acrylic was for her. But you know what? This stuff, I would knit with it again. It had enough spring in it that it didn't hurt my wrists like sometimes I get with other acrylics. So yeah. And I've knit with Knit Picks Brava too, and I really like that as well. So I like those. I would knit with them again. But anyways, like I was saying, you see on here, it's not been blocked or anything. So the stitches, the ribbing goes in. You can see it really well on this one. Like it's just kind of sad. And the neck line rolls. You see that? Especially at the back. You can see how it rolls down. So I will be pinning this out and I'll be blocking it. So what I'm going to do, instead of soaking it in the water and then pinning it out, because that will do nothing, you have to do a different technique, and it's called steam blocking. Now with your steam blocking, you take your iron, unless you have a steamer. If you have a steamer, that's even better. But if you don't, and you just need to use your iron, you put it on its steam setting, pin this out to exactly the measurements that you want, and then you just hover your iron over it with full steam. And what that's going to do is it's going to relax the little tiny fibers, and it will make it hold its shape. And this is permanent. Yeah, so you just pin it out. So like for example, when I go to do it, I'm going to be pinning it out so that the so this ribbing is straight and the stitches are even, and then I'll just give it a quick steam, like maybe 5 to 10 seconds, just slowly hover over top. And oh dear, my camera's running low, or my battery, computer camera, laptop battery dying. There we go. So anyways, so yeah, just do that, just very, very gently, and you're going to end up setting. It will set your acrylic, and you'll never have to do it again. That is not the same. A lot of times if you're doing your research and you're looking, people call it, say, oh, you can't block acrylic, you'll kill it. Not necessarily true. A quick gentle steaming is going to open up those stitches. It's going to make them bloom a little bit, puff up, even out your stitches. Killing your acrylic is a completely different beast. It's where you pretty much you iron straight on. You're going to melt it and change the drape drastically. You're going to make it limp and make it just, basically you're going to ruin your item. There's sometimes that you'll want to do that, like maybe you're doing a shawl. For example, I knit my mother-in-law shawl, and I'll link the pictures because the change was huge. But the lace was all crumpy and wrinkly and not very nice, and it just didn't look that good. So I took out my iron and I steamed it, and I heavily steamed it. It took about 3 passes. And now it's this soft, drapey. It's not crunchy. It's just incredibly soft, and the lace is all opened up, and it's beautiful. And yeah, I would not have looked good if I would have just left it. So yes, definitely your acrylic items can benefit from a blocking. You just have to remember to do it a little differently than you would with your woolens. But yeah, don't listen to people say that it can't be done, because it can. If you go to a shop, okay, go to somewhere, next time you're going out to buy clothes, look at sweaters, look at their content. Most of the time they have high acrylic content. Maybe they're even 100% acrylic, and they sit nicely. It's because professional, when you get a garment made, or factories, when they make them, to give them that professional look, they steam them. And steaming them is what gives them that beautiful drape, the consistent look. So if they can do it, you can do it. So don't be afraid. Just be gentle. Do it slowly. You don't want to accidentally, melt your acrylic or whatever. So just be careful to hover. Use lots of steam. Do it slowly. And if you're unsure, knit a swatch. I know you're going to hate me because I'm going to say that every single time, but do it. Knit yourself a swatch, test it out, because you'd rather do that than ruin your finished piece. But yeah, so I guess that's it for this week. I don't have a whole heck of a lot more to tell you. And I gotta go, I guess, because my camera's going to die. Or not my camera. My laptop is going to die. So I guess I'll sign off there. So thank you so much for watching. I apologize that it was so long. The next one I hope won't be quite as long. Maybe a couple weeks from now I'll podcast again if I have anything to show you. I finished all the things, so now I'll have to cast on all the things. Oh darn, I was going to talk about some knit-alongs and stuff like that, so I'll do that next time. Maybe I will try to get it done again in a week so I can talk about some knit-alongs that I want to do and some of my knitting goals for 2017. So, but until then, I hope you guys have a wonderful week or 2 weeks or however long it is. Thank you so much for watching, and yeah, have a great time with your projects. And I hope that you will, like, subscribe, comment below, and tell me what you're working on. We'll talk to you later. Bye.